So, with the end of the 2021 NBA season quickly approaching, it's once again time to check in with an updated mock draft. More time has been spent analyzing the top prospects' games, more fit will be taken into account by the teams, and the order of the standings has definitely shifted a good bit since the last time. As always, the order the teams will be picking in this mock draft are based entirely on the current NBA standings. I did not simulate a lottery or put these teams in this order myself. Before we start though, it turns out about 64% of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so please, if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I would also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. Starting things off with the first pick in the draft, the Houston Rockets select Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State. The Rockets have been going through a little transition year, shifting their focus towards the future now, so being able to land the top pick would be huge, because Cade Cunningham is a potential superstar in the making. There's nothing I can say now that hasn't been said a million times already, but basically he's a tall 6'7" point guard with an incredibly balanced game on both ends of the floor, and his court vision, playmaking, and scoring ability alongside players like Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. would give the team a terrific starting point for their rebuild. Next up with the second pick in the draft, the Detroit Pistons select Evan Mobley from USC. Mobley is far and away the best big man prospect in this year's draft, and he brings a play style that's perfectly suited for the modern NBA. Defensively, he's been compared to Bam Adebayo because of his versatility on that end, not only as a premier rim protector, but a competent perimeter defender too when put in positions where he has to switch or defend in space. Offensively, he's tall, mobile, and incredibly athletic, so he should work perfectly in the pick and roll. He crashes the offensive glass hard and creates a ton of second chance opportunities, and his jumper has been developing nicely as well. The Pistons aren't exactly in a spot where they'll be picky with who they select, so they're going to be targeting the best player available wherever they land, and here, Mobley is easily that guy for them. Up next with the third pick in the draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Jalen Suggs from Gonzaga. Suggs brings a level of poise and confidence to the point guard position well beyond his years, and his all-around talent was a driving factor of Gonzaga reaching the championship game this season. Yes, he hit an unbelievable game winner from half court in the Final Four, but he was a top prospect on NBA teams' radars well before that even went down. He has the court vision and passing talent to set those up around him for open looks at the perfect moments. He can score from all three levels. He's quick with a good ability to change his pace and use his shiftiness to get by, and he plays very tough perimeter defense. He and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would be an amazing backcourt to build around for years to come, and I don't think they would pass up on that opportunity if it presented itself. Next up with the fourth pick in the draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Jalen Green from the G League Ignite. Green opted to go the route of playing professionally in the G League, and while playing alongside other professional athletes getting integrated into the physicality and pace of the game, he demonstrated an electrifying skill set. Green is one of the best athletes in the draft this year, and if you give him a bit of space, he'll soar to the rim to throw one down. He's a naturally gifted scorer who can put up 20 points with ease, but where he needs to improve is with his consistency from the outside, as his jumper was somewhat inconsistent in the G League. Besides that, he could bring more wing production alongside the Cavaliers' backcourt of Colin Sexton and Darius Garland and continue to progress the team's rebuild. Next up with the fifth pick in the draft, the Orlando Magic select Jonathan Kuminga from G League Ignite. Kuminga was a teammate of Green's this year, and he too performed very well considering it was his first action against other pros. Kuminga has a very strong NBA-ready body with the strength, length, and athleticism that will help him provide versatile production both offensively and defensively. He's much more raw than the other players we've discussed so far, but he's definitely in the same tier as a lot of them talent-wise because his ceiling could be sky high if he's able to put it all together down the line. He too will have to work to improve on his efficiency. His decision-making will take time to work out the kinks as he continues to grow and learn the game, and it's going to take patience with him, but in 5 years, he could potentially develop into a legitimate two-way star. Up next with the 6th pick in the draft, the Golden State Warriors, who own the Timberwolves pick if it falls to this spot, select Scottie Barnes from Florida State. Scottie Barnes seems like he could become the perfect role player in the NBA, which may not sound all that great, but when building a contender like the Warriors do, those kind of players are incredibly important. Barnes has been even compared to Draymond Green to a certain degree because of his play style as a playmaking, pass first, do all of the little things that help a team win type of power forward, and where better to end up than the team that Draymond plays for to learn from the man himself. Next up with the 7th pick in the draft, the Toronto Raptors select Davion Mitchell from Baylor. Mitchell boosted his draft stock a ton in March Madness, and I personally am a big-time believer in him, despite the fact that he's much older than most of the other lottery picks, being already 22 years old. Mitchell is very likely the best perimeter defender in the draft, who can absolutely hound opposing ball handlers and make life hell for them. His shooting gets better and better every year as well, and this season he shot the lights out. He has a great first step and solid burst to get by defenders and attack the basket, and he doesn't need to dominate the ball at all to be effective. Next up with the 8th pick in the draft, the Orlando Magic, who own the Bulls pick, select Jalen Johnson from Duke. Johnson's season at Duke didn't quite go as expected, with the team struggling mightily, his individual production being more inconsistent than many hoped, and it concluded with him stepping away from the team before the season ended to focus on preparing for the draft. There are definitely some red flags that come with him and his game, but there's also plenty to be excited about. He's terrific when pushing the pace, and as a 6'9" forward, he has terrific court vision and playmaking ability to create tons of transition baskets. He too will need to develop, but the Magic have time and patience, having just started their rebuild, and he's the kind of player they should be able to get the most out of over time. Up next with the 9th pick in the draft, the New Orleans Pelicans select Moses Moody from Arkansas. Moody is the prototypical 3-and-D player in this year's draft class, but he brings much more than that. Yes, he's a terrific perimeter defender on the wing, but he's also a highly productive scorer without being the kind of player that needs the ball in his hands to produce. He works well spotting up, he moves without the ball, he has a nice mid-range jumper, and on a Pelicans team in need of defenders and floor spacers in a lesser role, he could be a terrific fit alongside guys like Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. Next up with the 10th pick in the draft, the Sacramento Kings select Keon Johnson from Tennessee. Johnson reminds me a lot of Patrick Williams from last year's draft, where he had a fairly quiet college basketball season, but really started to shoot up draft boards as the draft approached. His physical attributes and athleticism are incredibly enticing. He's already a great versatile defender who has a knack for being in the right place at the right time to play help defense or take a charge, and offensively, he's shown glimpses of potential despite still being very raw on that end of the floor. Next up with the 11th pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards select Franz Wagner from Michigan. He's the brother of current NBA player Mo Wagner, and he's supposed to be better. He's a solid shooter of the basketball, can operate as a helpful secondary playmaker, he has a lot of the glue guy type of skills that don't necessarily get measured in the box score, and his defensive instincts are fantastic. The Wizards can definitely still use a lot of help defensively, and Wagner could be a pretty useful glue guy to add to their rotation. Up next with the 12th pick in the draft, the Indiana Pacers select Corey Kispert from Gonzaga. Kispert is the sharpshooter of this year's draft class, and if there's one thing that will always be valuable in the NBA, it is shooting. He's shot over 44% from 3 this season, and his off-ball movement, quick trigger, and confident stroke would be the perfect addition for a team like the Pacers, who could be losing their sharpshooter Doug McDermott to free agency this summer. Up next with the 13th pick in the draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Josh Giddey from the NBL. Giddey is one of the most unique players in this year's draft class, who is currently heating up in the Australian League at the moment, dropping triple-doubles and impressing as a 6'8" point guard with incredible skills and impressive playmaking. He's the type of guy who can just grab a rebound and immediately spark the fast break, and that kind of unique talent could be maximized in San Antonio, who are still looking for a playmaker. And finally, the last pick of the lottery belongs to the Memphis Grizzlies, and with it they select James Bouknight from UConn. Bouknight is a spark plug scorer who can really light it up in a moment's notice. He did suffer an injury that held him back a bit to close the season out, but at full strength, he's one of the best scorers in the draft and could provide some instant offense for the Grizzlies next season. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you want your favorite team to draft this year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.